Welcome back to Peacock TV Spoilers. Today, Peacock TV Spoilers needs to talk about the heartbreaking reality that Lexie Carver is dying all over again. Grab those tissues, because this is going to be a rough ride. Let's dive right into the madness. Let's be real for a second. For years, the residents of Salem have treated death like a slightly annoying inconvenience. Viewers have seen everyone from Marlena Evans to Will Horton bite the dust, only to waltz back into town a few years later looking better than ever. The DiMera family essentially holds the patent on resurrection. So, when Lexie Carver miraculously returned to the canvas, everyone thought the return was just another classic Days of Our Lives miracle. Abe Carver got Abe Carver's beloved wife back. Theo Carver got Theo Carver's mother back. Kristen DiMera got Kristen DiMera's sister back. It was a massive celebration. But Peacock TV Spoilers, we've been tracking this for weeks, and Peacock TV Spoilers noticed the red flags immediately. Now, just a few short weeks after Lexie Carver's triumphant return, the show is dropping massive hints that this celebration comes with a very strict, very tragic expiration date. The warning signs have been there from the very beginning. The show brought Lexie Carver back from the dead, but the writers never once treated this scientific process as a flawless victory. Dr. Wilhelm Rolf has been constantly monitoring Lexie Carver. E.J. DiMera has been hovering in the background like a nervous vulture. Every single conversation surrounding Lexie Carver has carried this suffocating feeling of dread, like everyone is just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And you won't believe what happens next. The June 8th episode finally puts a terrifying name to those concerns. Dr. Wilhelm Rolf reveals to E.J. DiMera that the resurrected lab rats are experiencing severe neurological degradation. That is just a fancy, terrifying way of saying that the lab rats' brains are literally turning to mush and failing. Suddenly, this weird background plot about lab rats isn't just quirky DiMera science anymore. The failing science is a direct, lethal threat to Lexie Carver. The timing of this revelation is absolutely brutal. While Kristen DiMera and Lexie Carver are upstairs catching up and sharing what should be a beautiful sisterly moment, the unthinkable happens. Lexie Carver's hands begin to shake uncontrollably. Lexie Carver is experiencing severe tremors. Later, Dr. Wilhelm Rolf examines Lexie Carver and confirms the worst. Lexie Carver's grip strength has weakened significantly. The moment Dr. Wilhelm Rolf starts talking about neurological symptoms, every single fan watching knows exactly where this storyline is heading. Lexie Carver originally died of a brain tumor years ago. To have Lexie Carver's brain failing Lexie Carver again now. That's crazy. Amazing acting, but incredibly painful to watch. This reminds me of what Stefano DiMera did back in the day. Remember when Stefano DiMera used to play God with people's lives? Stefano DiMera would use brain chips and experimental serums to control Stefano DiMera's enemies, but even Stefano DiMera knew that science had limits. E.J. DiMera is trying so hard to carry on Stefano DiMera's legacy, but E.J. DiMera is playing with fire. E.J. DiMera demanded that Dr. Wilhelm Rolf bring Lexie Carver back, likely to secure some sort of family loyalty or leverage. But mortals cannot cheat death without paying a massive price. E.J. DiMera is now watching E.J. DiMera's grand experiment crumble before E.J. DiMera's very eyes. Dr. Wilhelm Rolf promised E.J. DiMera that Dr. Wilhelm Rolf would keep working until Dr. Wilhelm Rolf finds a solution. But let's face facts. Dr. Wilhelm Rolf is a mad scientist, not a miracle worker. The serum is failing, and Lexie Carver is paying the ultimate price. And what about Abe Carver? My heart is completely breaking for Abe Carver. Abe Carver has been caught in this impossible emotional tug-of-war between Abe Carver's current wife, Paulina Price, and Abe Carver's resurrected true love, Lexie Carver. Paulina Price literally moved out of Paulina Price's own home and is facing an aggressive breast tumor all by Paulina Price's self, just so Abe Carver could have a miracle with Lexie Carver. And now, Abe Carver is going to lose Lexie Carver all over again. The psychological torture of grieving a wife, finally moving on, getting the wife back, and then watching the wife slowly die a second time. That is Shakespearean tragedy right there. Abe Carver was just confessing to Marlena Evans that Abe Carver misses Paulina Price, and Abe Carver is completely oblivious to the fact that Lexie Carver is stumbling around the house, dizzy and weak. And viewers cannot forget about Theo Carver. Theo Carver is currently hiding in Theo Carver's room, acting completely strange because Theo Carver is trying to keep the secret of Chanel Dupree DiMera's cancer diagnosis. Theo Carver is so overwhelmed by Chanel Dupree DiMera's crisis that Theo Carver is completely missing the fact that Theo Carver's own mother, Lexie Carver, is physically deteriorating right outside Theo Carver's bedroom door. Can you imagine the guilt Theo Carver is going to feel when Theo Carver realizes Theo Carver spent Lexie Carver's final days hiding from Lexie Carver? The writers are weaving this massive web of grief, and the grief is going to destroy the Carver family. Let us also take a moment to analyze Kristen DiMera's role in this impending tragedy. Kristen DiMera has done some truly horrific things in Salem, but Kristen DiMera's love for Lexie Carver has always been a grounding force. Seeing Kristen DiMera sit upstairs, happily catching up with Lexie Carver, only to witness Lexie Carver's hands violently trembling, is a profound psychological blow. Kristen DiMera is not used to feeling helpless. Kristen DiMera usually controls every single narrative and manipulates every single outcome. But Kristen DiMera cannot manipulate a failing resurrection serum. I personally believe that if Lexie Carver dies again, the grief will push Kristen DiMera completely over the edge into pure, unadulterated madness. Kristen DiMera might blame E.J. DiMera for rushing the scientific process, sparking a massive, destructive DiMera civil war. Okay, Peacock TV spoilers community, it is time for the hot take section. I personally believe that bringing Lexie Carver back just to kill Lexie Carver off a few weeks later is a massive mistake and incredibly disrespectful to the fans. I said it. I am fiercely defending Paulina Price here. Paulina Price is suffering in silence, fighting for Paulina Price's life, while Abe Carver plays house with a ticking time bomb. The writers are essentially using Lexie Carver as a plot device to create temporary shock value, and I hate the shock value. Lexie Carver is a legacy character. Lexie Carver deserves better than to be a failed science experiment. If you ask me, this is a huge mistake, because the temporary return completely cheapens the emotional weight of Lexie Carver's original beautiful goodbye years ago. Why rip open that wound for Abe Carver and Theo Carver just to pour salt in the wound? But here's the kicker. What if this isn't the end? Let's dive into some predictive lore. Based on the show's internal logic, viewers know that DiMera Science always has a backup plan, even if the backup plan is highly unethical. Fan theories are exploding right now. Some fans believe that E.J. DiMera is going to force Dr. Wilhelm Rolf to harvest spinal fluid or brain tissue from someone else in Salem to stabilize Lexie Carver's neurological pathways. Can you believe it? What if E.J. DiMera targets an innocent person to save E.J. DiMera's sister? Or what if Dr. Wilhelm Rolf realizes that the only way to save Lexie Carver is to put Lexie Carver into a deep, cryogenic freeze, effectively putting Lexie Carver in a coma until medical technology catches up? That cryogenic freeze would allow the show to write Lexie Carver off the canvas without actually killing Lexie Carver again. What makes this entire development so incredibly unsettling is just how fast the deterioration is happening. Lexie Carver has barely had any time to settle back into Lexie Carver's life in Salem before the cracks started to show. Normally, when a character returns from the dead on Days of Our Lives, the show spends months, sometimes even a full year, celebrating the reunion. Characters go on picnics. Characters have massive parties at the Brady Pub. Characters rebuild lives. But here, the show practically had Lexie Carver unpack Lexie Carver's suitcase and immediately started dropping hints about another fatal medical crisis. The pacing is absolutely relentless. For the very first time since Lexie Carver magically reappeared, it truly feels like the core storyline isn't that Lexie Carver is back. The real story is whether Lexie Carver can actually stay. And all the evidence points to a devastating negative outcome. The miracle of Dr. Wilhelm Rolf's serum comes with some incredibly fine print, and the bill is coming due. Salem is about to be rocked by a wave of grief that will shatter Abe Carver, devastate Theo Carver, and leave E.J. DiMera scrambling for answers. Do you think Dr. Wilhelm Rolf will find a cure in time, or is Lexie Carver doomed to die a second time? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and do not forget to hit that subscribe button to stay updated with Peacock TV. Spoilers.